He didn't mean to fall in love. He wasn't even supposed to talk to her. She was just a silent alien girl, bought in a forgotten market for $3 because no one else wanted her. His wife? She hated her from the moment she saw her. Not because of what she was, but because of what she didn't say. But what if I told you this isn't a story about betrayal, or passion, or even marriage? What if I told you that the most dangerous kind of affair is the one where no one says a word, /n/n stay with me? Because when the alien girl finally speaks, she doesn't use her mouth. She uses everything he never dared to feel. She didn't move, didn't speak. But when he paid those $3, she stared at him like she already knew his name. The market was alive with noise, electronic haggling in 5 languages, steam rising from bioreactor food stalls, and the occasional scream muffled by credits changing hands. Damon ignored it all. He had no reason to be here, no shopping list, no purpose, just an ache in his chest he hadn't been able to shake since Lisa stopped calling him by his name and started calling him you. He wondered until he found her. She was crumpled in the shadow of a broken neon sign, skin pale with a faint luminescence, dressed in tattered synth fabric that might have once been elegant. She didn't react when a child poked at her. Didn't flinch when someone spat near her feet. But when Damon stopped, she looked up. That was it. No pleading. No fear. Just eyes that pierced through him like old light from a dead star. $3, the vendor muttered. A shrug. Void class. Doesn't speak. No skills. Probably broken. I'll take her, Damon said, before he could think better of it. He half expected a scanner check, a retina signature. But the vendor didn't care. Just took the 3 crumpled Earth credits and gestured toward the pile of silence. She didn't resist as he helped her up. Her bones felt too light. She smelled like ozone and ash. And still those eyes. Following him, not with obedience, but with something eerily close to patience. He didn't know why he brought her home. Maybe it was pity. Maybe it was the quiet. Or maybe it was because, for the first time in weeks, someone had looked at him without judgment or boredom or disappointment. When Lisa saw her, she froze. She was in the kitchen, adjusting the nutrient calibrator for their child's breakfast, and turned just in time to see Damon leading an alien girl into the hallway. What the hell is that? She was at the market. You bought her? Damon, what is wrong with you? He didn't answer. Just helped the girl sit down on a low bench. She tucked her knees to her chest, silent, watching them both. She's not dangerous, he said quietly. Just left behind. Like a stray animal? This isn't some kind of pet adoption, Damon. She's not a project. The alien girl didn't react. Not to the shouting. Not to the tension. Her eyes flicked between them, but her face stayed blank, unreadable. Put her in the shed if you insist, Lisa snapped. But don't let her near the kids. That night, Damon brought her a thermal blanket and a sealed ration pack. She didn't eat. Just looked at him again. That same stare. Not grateful. Not expectant. as if she was waiting for him to remember something he'd never known. He sat beside her on the floor, back against the metal wall. Outside, the wind howled through the ventilation shafts. Inside, he said nothing. Neither did she. But the silence wasn't empty. It felt full. Like a story neither of them had words for yet. The next morning, Lisa refused to speak to him. She moved through the house like a storm denied its thunder. Damon got the kids ready for school. Fixed a broken panel on the water heater. Pretended his life hadn't shifted slightly on its axis. But when night came, he found himself back at the shed. She hadn't moved much. Still sat curled, watching the door. Waiting. "What's your name?" he asked. No response. He reached out, hesitated, then touched her hand. It was like falling into a memory that wasn't his. For a split second, images. A city made of glass domes burning under a purple sky. Screams in a language with no vowels. A child with skin like hers reaching for someone just out of reach. Damon jerked back, breath caught. She didn't flinch. She just watched him. He stood, backing toward the door. "I'm sorry," he whispered. She blinked, slowly. He left, heart pounding, unsure whether he'd imagined it all. But one thing was certain. She wasn't empty. And maybe, just maybe, neither was he. In the days that followed, Damon found himself returning to the shed more often than he returned to his own bedroom. Not because he was avoiding Lisa, though that too was true, but because of the silence. Not just the quiet of a locked room, but the particular kind of stillness Ray created. A silence that felt alive. She never asked for anything. She ate what he brought her, slowly, methodically. She blinked only when necessary. When she wasn't curled against the corner wall, knees to her chest, she sat upright with her back to the metal, eyes following him in a way that wasn't afraid. It was observant. Curious. Almost patient. Damon began to talk. Not much. Just fragments of thought. He told her about the day's repairs at the reactor. How his son was failing math again. How Lisa was angry with him before he even opened his mouth. Ray never responded. But she didn't turn away either. That was enough. By the fourth night, Damon didn't bring a blanket, he brought a folding chair. He sat beside her in the soft blue hum of the generator unit and didn't speak at all. There was no need. Her presence, her quiet, had become a mirror for thoughts he didn't know he had. She didn't sleep. Or if she did, it looked no different from her waking. That night, his fingers brushed her hand. And everything changed. It was accidental. He dropped a ration pack, reached down to pick it up, and in that instant his palm touched the back of hers. Her skin wasn't cold, but it wasn't warm either. It was neutral. Waiting. The sound came first. A vibration deep in his ears, like pressure shifting inside his skull. Then came the images. Flickers. Incomplete. He didn't see with his eyes, but with some inner field of perception suddenly opened wide. Fire. A sky split by vertical lightning. A ship not human descending in flames. Glass towers falling like ash. Children small, pale, and silent being pulled into cages made of soft light. He felt pain. Not physical, but emotional. The kind that comes with the collapse of meaning. A people being erased. And at the center of it all, a girl Ray. Standing amid ruin. Not crying. Just watching it happen, as though she'd already known she would lose everything. Damon pulled his hand back like it burned. He stumbled to his feet, heart pounding. Ray didn't move. She only looked at him, eyes no longer blank but tinged with something that might have been sadness. Or relief. Or both. He left the shed in silence. The next day, he tried to rationalize it. Maybe his mind was projecting. Maybe the proximity to alien neurosignatures caused some hallucination. He'd worked on neural mesh systems, he knew the science. But science had rules. That hadn't. And yet, that night, he went back. He didn't try to touch her again. He didn't have to. Something had changed. The air between them held tension now, like the space before a storm breaks. He brought a harmonizer cube, something his daughter used to sleep better when she was little. He set it near Ray's feet and turned it on low. Soft ambient frequencies filled the room, tones shifting gently through sonic ranges. Ray's eyes closed. Not in sleep. In acknowledgement. For the first time, she leaned slightly toward the sound. Damon exhaled. He hadn't realized he'd been holding his breath. Each night after, he brought something small. A folded cloth. A packet of fruit gel. A solar lantern that cast soft constellations on the walls. Ray never reached for them. But she let them exist in her space. It was enough. On the 10th night, Damon spoke again. I think you came from somewhere that doesn't believe in rescue. She didn't blink. But maybe, you still hope for it. Even when you stopped expecting it. No answer. Just a slight tilt of her head. I don't know why I bought you, he admitted. But I think it wasn't about saving you. It was about not letting you disappear. The words hung there, heavy. He didn't expect a response. But this time, Ray moved. Just her hand. She reached out not to touch but to place her palm flat against the floor, next to his. Close. Not quite touching. Her eyes remained closed. Not in sleep. In surrender. That night, Damon didn't dream. But when he woke the next morning, he felt a warmth in his chest that hadn't been there in years. He told himself it meant nothing. But part of him already knew he had begun to care for a girl who hadn't spoken a single word. And she had told him more than anyone else ever had. Lisa didn't catch him with her hands. She caught him with her eyes. It started with a sound. A laugh. Soft. Short. Something she hadn't heard in years, not since before the silence between them had grown too large to step across. She had passed the shed on her way to the greenhouse and heard it through the door. Damon laughing. Not loudly. Not nervously. Just gently. Like something inside him had been touched, and touched back. That night, she said nothing. The next night, she waited. She watched from the shadows as Damon slipped out the side door with a cloth bundle in his hand. His face wasn't alert or guilty, it was peaceful. That scared her more than anything. He had forgotten how to look at her that way. She waited another 5 minutes, then followed. The shed door was cracked open, just enough. She crept closer, silent on the gravel. Inside, she saw them. Damon was sitting on the floor beside Ray. There was no chair this time. No barrier. And he was holding her hand. Not grasping. Not gripping. Just holding. Their palms together like two puzzle pieces with edges worn down by sorrow. His face, God, his face. It wasn't desire. It wasn't lust. It was love. Soft. Unspoken. Undeniable. Lisa stepped forward and pushed the door open. The moment shattered. Damon turned fast, too fast. Let go of Ray's hand like it was on fire. Lisa. She didn't scream. Didn't cry. She never said a word, Lisa said, voice tight. And still, she took you? Ray sat still, unmoving. Her eyes met Lisa's for the first time. No apology. No arrogance. Just silence. But a silence that said, I was here long before you noticed. It's not what you think, Damon started. No, she snapped. Because from here, it looks like you've found someone who doesn't talk back. Doesn't argue. Just stares at you like you're a god. Must be refreshing. Lisa, it's not like that. Don't lie to me, Damon. Don't you dare make this uglier than it already is. He took a step forward. She backed away. I didn't plan this. I didn't even want it. But you needed it, she said. Didn't you? Someone who makes you feel seen. Even if she's not human. Even if she's not free. That struck him hard. He swallowed, looked back at Ray. She hadn't moved. Her eyes hadn't left him. Lisa followed his gaze. She doesn't even flinch. Not even now. What is she to you? He had no answer. Because Ray wasn't just a girl. She was the echo of everything he'd tried to forget: loneliness, guilt, the ache of being invisible in your own home. And somehow, she had filled it. Not with words. With presence. I didn't mean to hurt you, he whispered. Lisa laughed, and it was the sound of something breaking. You didn't hurt me, Damon. You left me. Quietly. Slowly. You handed your soul to someone who can't even say your name. A pause. Her voice cracked. And the worst part is, I think she understands you better than I do. No one spoke. Outside, the wind stirred through the dry grass. Inside, 3 people shared a silence too loud to bear. Ray finally looked away. Her eyes, once still and open, now closed, not in peace, but in retreat. Lisa turned and walked away. Damon didn't follow. He sat back down. Not beside Ray. Just near enough. And for the first time, Ray looked sad. The air shifted at midnight. Not outside, inside. Inside the walls where breath had once moved freely, where sounds had clashed and hearts had broken, time faltered. Everything slowed. The tick of the old mechanical clock stopped mid-step. The ceiling fan froze in mid-rotation, a single blade tilted toward the floor like a halted sigh. Ray stood at the center of the living room. Barefoot. Barefaced. Still silent. Lisa screamed at her, but the sound didn't leave her throat. Her mouth moved, white and raw, but the air refused to carry the noise. Damon reached forward, his hands halfway in a plea or a warning, but they froze inches from her shoulder. Nothing moved. Except Ray. Her breathing was calm, but her eyes were not. They shimmered like mirrors submerged beneath water, reflecting more than what was in front of them. She took a step forward. Then another. Her hand rose, slow as gravity. She pressed her palm to Damon's chest, directly above his heart. And then she showed them. Not with light. Not with sound. But with memory. A field, endless and silver, under a sky that never ended. Dozens, hundreds of her kind, children and elders alike, laughing without sound, their bodies glowing like bioluminescent threads of light. They moved as one, dancing, folding, living in harmony. A world without war. Without ownership. Without cages. Then came the rupture. The ships. The harvest. The fire. Everything beautiful scorched and scraped and stolen. Ray being pulled from the arms of a woman whose face shimmered like her own. Ray in chains. Ray in darkness. Ray watching stars blur into nothing. But the last image wasn't destruction. It was Damon. Sitting across from her on a cold floor. Not touching. Not speaking. Just being there. She opened her eyes. And time resumed. Lisa stumbled backward, her voice erupting like a backlog flood. Damon gasped, falling to his knees, breath hitched like he'd been pulled out of deep water. Ray's hand dropped from his chest, her fingers curling slowly inward. No one said anything for a moment. Because now they all knew. She wasn't dangerous. She was grieving. Damon rose, gently, as if waking from a dream. Lisa looked at Ray not with rage, but with something brittle and new. Recognition. The crack in her expression wasn't anger anymore. It was comprehension. Ray turned, not toward the door, but toward the night. She walked barefoot across the threshold, the cold tiles whispering beneath her. At the edge of the hallway, she paused. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She had said everything she needed to say. And for the first time, they had listened. The house didn't change much after Ray left. But Damon did. Lisa packed her things 3 days later. She didn't scream. Didn't cry. She left the way tired people leave, not out of hate, but from the slow erosion of something they both stopped naming years ago. She paused once, hand on the door frame, her bags already loaded. You didn't choose her, she said softly. You chose something that made you feel alive. I couldn't compete with that. He didn't try to stop her. He just stood in the kitchen doorway, hands wrapped around a lukewarm mug of synth coffee, and watched her go. After that, the house fell quiet in a way even Ray's silence had never created. No footsteps. No drawers slamming. No children arguing over breakfast. Just Damon, the hum of a tired air recycler, and an ache he no longer tried to medicate with excuses. He didn't search for Ray. He knew she wouldn't be found. But some nights, just before the artificial sunset dimmed the lights across the outer wall, he would sit near the back of the house. The shed was empty now. Clean. But the air inside still carried something faint and electric. When he pressed his palm to the back wall, the one she used to sit against, he could feel it. Not heat. Not cold. A pulse. Like the memory of touch. The first time it happened, he flinched. Thought it was his mind playing tricks. But it came again, night after night. A soft rhythm, like a heartbeat caught between seconds. And every time it came, his own heart would stutter. Once. Then settle. He never told anyone. But he stopped avoiding that wall. Instead, he leaned into it. The dreams began not long after. Not vivid. Not stories. Just sensations. A field of silver. The sound of laughter that didn't need voices. A presence beside him, warm without temperature. She was never fully there. Just impressions. A blink. A breath. A brush of memory against memory. Sometimes, when he woke, his hands would be curled as if they'd been holding something fragile. He would lie there, staring at the ceiling, and whisper her name, though he was never sure if it had been spoken aloud, or just breathed inside. Ray. She had never told him her name. Not with words. But he'd known it anyway. Knew it the same way he knew he would never hear her voice, and still feel heard. He took fewer contracts. Started walking more. Repaired things not because they needed it, but because hands need to do something when the heart is too full. The neighbors stopped asking questions. Some thought he was grieving a lost mistress. Others believed he'd had a breakdown. He let them believe whatever made sense. But the truth was simpler. He had loved something he wasn't supposed to love. Not because of species, or politics, or marriage, but because she reminded him that love doesn't need permission. That it doesn't announce itself with fireworks or fate. Sometimes, it just sits beside you in the quiet, and doesn't leave. Except she did. And yet, somehow, she hadn't. Years passed. The shed remained. The wall remained. So did the pulse. Damon aged. Slower than most. Quieter than most. And one day, long after people had forgotten the story of the alien girl bought for $3, Damon sat in the old wooden chair beside the shed, pressed his palm to the wall one last time. And felt it. Not just the pulse. But warmth. It wasn't memory anymore. It was goodbye. And somehow, he smiled. Because some goodbyes don't hurt. They just remind you that you were lucky enough to feel something worth remembering. He closed his eyes. And the silence welcomed him like an old friend.